Yo, what's going on, everybody? And today we are here to talk about a very special thing that happened. The Jets and the New York Jets, who have just hired their head coach, Aaron Glenn, have now hired their new general manager, Darren Mougey. Mougey, not really sure, just heard about it. And this is going to be an interesting one because I guess we'll just talk about it because I don't know too much about him, and I don't think a lot of people do. Um, he started off as an area scout with the Broncos in 2012, I believe. So he's been with them for 13 years now. As many kind of former players who come out of college and they're trying to play in the NFL, they don't find as much success. They become front office personnel executives. That being said, he is 6'6", being a former quarterback and tight end for San Diego State. So that right there is bonus points. Bonus points just because he's going to have that intimidation factor when he's making deals for the Jets. But jokes aside, he was well regarded by George Patton, who is the current GM of the Broncos, who joined in 2021. And shortly after George Patton joined, instead of parting ways with a lot of those execs that were holdovers from the previous regime, he actually promoted Mougey really quickly to director of player personnel in a time when a new regime was dawning for the Denver Broncos. So that's actually pretty impressive right there. Of course, when Mougey first started as an area scout, he was there for the first few years of the Manning era, and so I don't think he had much of a hand in terms of the success for that. But he was there. He was around the organization in those successful times when several deep playoff runs as well as a Super Bowl run. And then other than that, he was there for I believe it was a Trevor Siemian led positive record team for the Broncos, and then many losing seasons following that, and then most recently the playoff run with rookie QB Bo Nix. And so after a year of being director of player personnel under Patton, he was then promoted to assistant GM. So exponential ascension that we were seeing from him, which bodes well because, you like to see that. You like to see he must have some sort of, mind for football at the very least because, he's been promoted so many times in an area of which multiple eras of the Denver Broncos, multiple iterations of that organization that we've seen. Turnover, and he's been kind of a constant for the past 13 years. So more about his notable connections. Very well respected by Sean Payton, who is the current coach of the Broncos, who obviously has a Super Bowl winning resume. Also, apparently many people say he's similar in his mind for football to that of stud Vikings Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. They knew each other from college. I can't remember if they were roommates or what have you, but they knew each other from college, and many people have said in the media that they have very similar expertise in terms of their football knowledge. That bodes very well as well. I like to hear that. Is it just some media smoke that's being blown? Who knows? But the question is, how did we get here? So Lance Newmark was widely believed to be the guy that was going to be hired as the general manager. Next thing you know, since he was buddy with Aaron Glenn. Next thing you know, he gets sent home without a deal, and Aaron Glenn gets a deal after their interviews on their second interviews on that day. And then Mougey and Trey Brown, who I was a big fan of potentially hiring, were both brought in for second interviews along with Newmark, and Mougey ended up being the choice. Jacina Anderson broke the story yesterday, but I believe it wasn't official until today, very recently, like maybe an hour ago. So I guess the Jets, Woody and Chris Johnson, they decided that Mougey was the guy over Trey Brown. Who knows? I felt like Trey Brown has been a part of more success, but Mougey also has a very young career tenure, but he's done a lot within that career as a personnel exec. So I'm hoping that this turns out well, but again, I don't know much about him. I have questions though. With him being so young, is he going to be somebody that's married to some analytics? That's going to be one of my main questions. And it would be a good thing if he is, because for a long time the Jets haven't gone wedding old school football with analytics, but I hear Mougey is one of those guys. So I want to know how well versed he is in the football analytics that go behind player decisions. I want to know that for sure. That's one of my big questions. I hope so. We haven't heard anything about, what he's done specifically. And of course, the Denver Broncos are an organization that, at least in my recent memory, like, or my memory as a fan, and I haven't necessarily followed them too well necessarily. Obviously, I followed a wide variety of football over the course of me being a football fan, but I haven't paid too much attention to the moves that Denver Broncos have made. Of course, they made a lot of bad moves in recent memory, but there are also good moves. So hopefully he had a hand in terms of drafting Patrick Surtain or bringing in a guy like Nick Bonito, guys who are excelling at this point. But for the longest time, I felt like the Denver Broncos haven't had the most impressive offense. Even this year, having done so well with a rookie QB, Bo Nix, and of course, I'm sure Mougey probably had some sort of hand in that, which I'm hoping he did. Even with that, their offensive personnel as far as players go, or their offensive weapons, haven't been super impressive, including this year. You have Cortland Sutton, you have guys like Troy Franklin who might make something out of themselves, but he hasn't had the best rookie season. And then you have guys like Marvin Mims who have shown flashes of good things to come. But hopefully, what we've seen from the defensive end, hopefully Mougey had a hand in that, because that would be very good for the Jets' purposes. And I don't want to just be good on defense, though. I want to be good on offense, so I'm hoping he has some offensive tricks up his sleeve or knows how to pick right players for those roles. But everything is up in the air right now. Everything remains to be seen. Of course, I'm a big fan of Mougey over Lance Newmark for sure, to be certain. I would have just preferred Trey Brown, or even preferred to bring in the Thomas Dimitroff, or even maybe see Louis Riddick, what he has for a second interview. But obviously, the Jets decided to go a different way. Aaron Glenn, of course, was involved in the GM search, and if I trust him as a head coach, I might trust him as a guy to be involved in the right GM hire. So I gotta just take a leap of faith in this situation and see what kind of tricks Aaron Glenn plus Woody Johnson have up their sleeve. I want to hear more of the interviews that are to come of Mougey, pressers, hopefully many to come, because I want to hear as much as I can when it comes to sound bites, when it comes to his philosophies, when it comes to football. So a lot of things remain to be seen. For now, I'm gonna say B plus if I were to give it a grade. As far as W or L, can't give it a designation on that yet. Let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're enjoying, and follow me on all socials in the description. All right, peace.